I never thought I would find myself in this situation. One moment, I was happily scrolling through my husband Thomas's phone, looking for a funny meme he sent me earlier. The next moment, my heart dropped. There it was, a text message that shattered my perfect world into pieces. Can't wait to see you tonight. Just us. I miss you. I felt a cold wave wash over me as I read those words. Who was he seeing? Who was this person that made him forget the vows we took? Memories of our happy moments flooded my mind. The laughter, the late-night talks, our plans for the future, all of it now felt tainted by deceit. How could he do this to me? How could I have been so blind? I thought we were building a life together, but in reality, I had been living in a dream, a lie crafted by his charm and my trust. In that moment, I felt overwhelmed. My breath hitched in my throat and my hands trembled. I looked at the screen again, hoping it would disappear, but it didn't. The truth was there, staring me right in the face. I had built my life on a foundation of lies. Anger replaced the shock, igniting a fire within me. I would not let this betray my spirit. I would reclaim my story. "Clara?" Thomas called from the other room. I quickly wiped my tears, forcing a smile that felt like a mask. "Everything okay?" I could hear the concern in his voice, a voice that now sounded foreign to me. I couldn't respond. Not yet. As I stood there, I made a vow. Thomas would not escape the consequences of his actions. I would not be the silent victim. I would find a way to make him understand the pain he had caused. I could feel the resolve forming in my chest, a quiet strength growing louder with each passing second. I took a deep breath, gathering my thoughts. I needed a plan. What could I do? How could I confront him without showing my hand? My mind raced, filled with ideas and questions. Would he deny it? Would he try to manipulate me with his charm? I knew I had to stay strong. I could not show him my hurt. Not yet. The next few days were torturous. I moved around the house like a ghost, each room a reminder of the life I thought I had. I watched Thomas as he went about his routine, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing inside me. I caught glimpses of his phone, the device that had betrayed me. I wondered how many more messages he had sent, how many secrets he was hiding. "Hey, Clara, want to go out for dinner tonight?" he asked one evening, his eyes sparkling with affection. I forced a smile, nodding as I felt my heart sink. How could I share a meal with the man who had shattered my trust? "Sure, sounds great," I replied, trying to sound casual. Inside, I was screaming. I wanted to shout, to throw his lies back in his face. But I held my tongue. I needed to gather more evidence, more information. I needed to know everything about this other woman. Later that night, as I lay in bed, I felt a mix of emotions swirling inside me: betrayal, anger, and a strange sense of empowerment. I was not just a victim. I was a woman, strong and capable of fighting back. And I would not let Thomas escape unscathed. I picked up my phone and texted my best friend Sarah. "Can we talk?" I knew Sarah would help me. She always had my back. I needed someone in my corner, someone who would stand with me as I took the first steps towards reclaiming my life. As I stared at the ceiling, I felt a strange calm wash over me. I was ready to face the truth, ready to unearth the lies. The time for silence was over. I would find a way to make Thomas understand that betrayal comes with a price, and I was determined to make him pay. After the shocking discovery, I felt like I was in a fog. The world around me seemed dull and gray, and the only thing clear was the burning anger inside me. I knew I had to act. I needed to understand my rights, to find out what options I had. So, I picked up the phone and called a lawyer I had heard about from a friend. "Hello, this is Laura. How can I help you today?" The voice on the other end was bright and warm. "Hi, Laura. My name is Clara. I need some legal advice about my marriage," I said, my voice shaking slightly. "Of course, Clara. What seems to be the issue?" I took a deep breath and poured out my heart. I told her everything about the message I found, the betrayal, and how I felt lost. Laura listened patiently and asked questions that helped me put the pieces together. "Clara, it sounds like you have a lot on your plate. You deserve to know your rights," she said. "You have options, and we can explore them together." Her words lit a spark in me. I realized that I was not powerless. I could take charge of my life again. We discussed what steps I could take, and by the end of the call, I felt a little lighter. I thanked her and hung up, feeling a sense of clarity that I hadn't felt in days. With a newfound determination, I decided to reach out to some old friends. I hadn't spoken to them in years, mostly because I had put my marriage first. Now, it was time to reconnect with the parts of myself I had lost. I picked up my phone and sent a message to Sarah, my college roommate. "Hey Sarah, it's been ages. Can we catch up soon?" To my surprise, she replied almost immediately. "Of course. Let's meet for coffee tomorrow. I miss you." The next day, as I sat in the cozy cafe, I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. When Sarah walked in, her face lit up, and I couldn't help but smile. "Clara, you look great," she said as she hugged me tightly. "Thanks, it's nice to see you," I replied, feeling warmth spread through me. We talked for hours, sharing stories and laughter. I realized how much I missed this connection. As we sipped our coffees, I shared my recent struggles, and Sarah listened intently. "I can't believe Thomas would do that to you," she said, her eyes wide with disbelief. "You deserve so much better." "I know," I said, feeling the weight of her words. "It's just hard to accept that everything was a lie." "That's a huge betrayal, but you're stronger than you think. You'll get through this," Sarah encouraged, placing her hand on mine. Her faith in me was exactly what I needed. After our meeting, I felt like I was beginning to reclaim my identity, piece by piece. As days passed, I started gathering information about Thomas's affair. I found myself researching online, looking for signs, and piecing together the timeline of his lies. Each new piece of information cut deep, but it also fueled a fire inside me. I was no longer just a victim, I was becoming a warrior. One evening, while I was scrolling through social media, I stumbled upon a photo of Thomas with a woman named Veronica. I felt a wave of anger wash over me. She was the one, the mistress. My heart raced as I made a decision. I couldn't let this go unpunished. I called Sarah again. "I need your help," I said. "Of course. What do you need?" she asked, sounding eager. "I want to confront Thomas and Veronica, but I need a plan," I explained. "Can you help me figure out how to gather evidence?" "Absolutely. Let's put our heads together," she replied with enthusiasm. As we brainstormed, I felt the seeds of revenge starting to germinate. I was no longer just Clara, the betrayed wife. I was Clara, the woman who would take action. I would expose Thomas for the liar he was, and I would do it on my own terms. With a mixture of determination and an undeniable sense of purpose, I began to feel alive again. I was ready to take control of my story, and I wouldn't stop until I made sure Thomas and his mistress faced the consequences of their actions. As the sun dipped low in the sky, painting the world in hues of orange and pink, I found myself at a small gathering in a friend's backyard. Laughter and music filled the air, but my mind was focused on one person, Veronica, Thomas's mistress. I had to approach her carefully, pretending to be friendly, but inside I was plotting my next move. "Clara, you made it!" Sarah, my friend, greeted me with a warm hug. "Come on, let's grab a drink." "Thanks, Sarah. I'm glad to be here," I replied, trying to sound casual while my heart raced. I scanned the crowd, spotting Veronica across the yard, laughing with a group of people. I took a deep breath and steeled my nerves. This was the moment I had been preparing for. As I moved closer to Veronica, I noticed the way she tossed her hair back, how her laughter seemed so carefree. It made my stomach turn. I had to remind myself of my purpose. "Hey, Veronica," I called out, forcing a smile. "Oh, Clara, great to see you," she replied, her eyes sparkling with surprise. "How have you been?" "I've been good, just busy with work and life," I said, keeping my tone light. "What about you?" We exchanged small talk, and I felt a sense of satisfaction as I listened to her talk about her life. Each detail she shared was another piece of the puzzle I needed to complete my plan. I could see how she was completely unaware of my true intentions. I was like a wolf in sheep's clothing, ready to strike. "Have you seen Thomas lately?" I asked, trying to sound casual. The question hung in the air, and I watched her reaction closely. "Oh, you know, he's been working a lot," she said, a hint of nervousness creeping into her voice. "But we manage to catch up when we can." A small smile crept onto my face. "That's good to hear. He really cares about you." It felt strange to say those words, knowing the truth behind them, but I needed to keep the act up. As the evening wore on, I continued to talk to Veronica. Each conversation peeled back layers of her relationship with Thomas, and I could feel my resolve hardening. I took mental notes of everything she said, the little details that could become crucial pieces of evidence later. After a while, I noticed Thomas arriving at the gathering. He walked in with that confident swagger that had always drawn people to him. But now, all I could see was a man caught in a web of lies. I felt a rush of determination as I watched him, a man completely unaware of the storm brewing around him. I caught his eye, and he smiled at me, but I could see the flicker of confusion in his gaze. I smiled back, but it felt different now, like I was wearing a mask. I turned my attention back to Veronica, who was oblivious to the tension building in the air. "Let's get a drink, shall we?" I suggested, leading Veronica towards the bar. I could feel Thomas watching us, his brows furrowing as he tried to understand what was happening. It was exhilarating, knowing that I was pulling the strings without him even realizing it. "Cheers," Veronica said, as we clinked our glasses together, her laughter ringing in my ears. I took a sip, letting the cool liquid wash down my throat, feeling empowered. I was no longer the woman in the shadows of Thomas's life. I was stepping into the light, ready to take back what was mine. As the night continued, I noticed Thomas's anxiety growing. He kept glancing our way, fidgeting with his hands, and it filled me with satisfaction. He had no idea that I was gathering everything I needed to expose him. My plan was taking shape, and with every interaction, I moved closer to the moment when I would reveal the truth. "Are you okay?" Sarah asked me quietly, noticing my intense focus on Thomas. "Yeah, I'm fine," I replied, a small smile playing on my lips. "Just enjoying the evening." But in reality, I was savoring every moment of this game. It was a game of patience, and I was ready to win. Thomas had played with my heart, and it was time for me to show him the consequences of his actions. As I looked around the gathering, I felt a surge of confidence. I was no longer just Clara. I was a woman on a mission, and nothing would stand in my way. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on me as I stood outside our bedroom door, my heart racing with a mix of anxiety and determination. The evidence was clutched tightly in my hand, screenshots of messages that shattered everything I thought I knew. I took a deep breath and pushed the door open, ready to confront the man who had betrayed me. "Thomas," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. "We need to talk." He looked up from the couch, surprise flashing across his face. "Clara, what's wrong?" I stepped forward, holding the phone out for him to see. "What's wrong? This," I said, my voice rising slightly, "is what's wrong." His eyes widened as he took the phone and began reading the messages. I watched as confusion morphed into realization, then horror. The room felt charged with unspoken words. "I can explain," he stammered, his voice shaky. "It's not what you think." "Not what I think?" I interrupted, my anger bubbling to the surface. "You've been seeing her for months, Thomas. I have proof right here." I gestured to the phone in his hands. "Do you really think I'm going to let you talk your way out of this?" He sank back into the couch, his face pale. "Clara, I'm so sorry. I never meant for you to find out like this." "Never meant for me to find out?" I echoed, incredulity lacing my words. "You thought it was okay to lie to me, to make a fool of me, while you were with someone else? How could you do this to us?" "I was weak," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't want to hurt you. I thought I could handle it." "Handle what?" I demanded, my heart pounding. "Handle being a liar, handle breaking your vows. You didn't think of me at all. You didn't think of the life we built together." As I spoke, I could see the realization sink in. He was losing me, and it terrified him. "Clara, please. I love you. I made a mistake. I can change. We can fix this." Love. The word felt like a knife in my chest. "You don't get to say that. You lost the right to claim love the moment you chose to betray me." My voice was firm, but my heart ached. I felt a strange mix of vindication and sadness for the man he had become. "Please, just give me a chance to make it right," he pleaded, his eyes pleading. I shook my head, tears threatening to spill over. "You don't understand. This isn't just about you or me anymore. It's about respect. You shattered my trust, and now I have to find a way to rebuild myself." He looked down, defeated. "What can I do? I'll do anything." "Nothing," I replied, my voice softening. "You can't do anything to fix this. You've taken that away from me. I need to reclaim my identity, my strength. I need to be free from your lies." In that moment, I realized my true victory wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about making him suffer for what he had done. No, my victory was in reclaiming my own life, my own choices. I was the one who would rise from this, while he would have to live with the consequences of his actions. "Clara," he started, but I cut him off. "Save it, Thomas. I think it's best if we go our separate ways." I turned to leave, feeling a strange sense of liberation wash over me. As I stepped out of the room, I felt lighter, as if I had shed a heavy coat. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to face it. I was ready to reclaim my story, and this time, I would be the one in control. The days after the confrontation with Thomas felt like a whirlwind. I stood at the edge of a new beginning, where the pain of betrayal slowly began to fade, replaced by a sense of freedom I had not felt in years. Each morning, I woke with a new purpose. I looked at the sunlight streaming through my window, feeling grateful for the chance to start fresh. "Clara, are you coming to the coffee shop with us?" my friend Sarah called from the hallway. Her voice pulled me from my thoughts. I smiled, realizing how much I had missed moments like this. "Yeah, just give me a minute," I replied, quickly brushing my hair and slipping on a pair of jeans. At the coffee shop, the familiar aroma of roasted beans filled the air, wrapping around me like a warm blanket. My friends gathered around the table, their chatter buzzing with excitement. They asked about my plans, and for the first time in a long while, I felt like I had answers. "I think I want to take that painting class I always talked about," I said, feeling a spark of joy. "Finally! You've wanted to do that for ages!" Sarah exclaimed, her eyes shining with encouragement. As I shared my aspirations, I could see my friends nodding, their support lifting me higher. I realized how important they were in my journey. They reminded me that I was not alone. After finishing my coffee, I decided to visit the art supply store nearby. I walked in, the shelves full of colors and possibilities calling to me. I picked up a few brushes and a canvas, letting the excitement bubble inside me. That evening, I set up my new supplies in the small corner of my living room. The blank canvas stared back at me, and I hesitated for a moment. What do I want to create? I asked myself. I dipped the brush into blue paint, letting the color flow onto the canvas. Each stroke felt like a release, washing away the hurt of my past. I painted freely, losing track of time as I poured my emotions into my art. This was my new beginning. As the weeks went by, I found myself healing more and more. I joined the painting class, meeting people who shared my passion. "You have a unique style," one of my classmates said during our first session. "You should try showcasing your work." The idea made my heart race. Showcase my work? I've never thought about that, I admitted, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. "You should. Your art deserves to be seen," she encouraged. With their support, I decided to take a leap of faith. I organized a small exhibition at the local community center. The night of the event, I felt nervous, but alive. As I stood by my paintings, I watched people admire my work, their smiles warming my heart. "Clara, these are beautiful," someone said, pointing to a piece filled with vibrant colors. I smiled, feeling proud. "Thank you. I'm really glad you liked them," I replied, my confidence growing with each compliment. Later, as I mingled with guests, I noticed a familiar face in the crowd. It was Veronica, Thomas's mistress. I felt a rush of emotions but stood tall. I would not let her past actions define my present. "Clara, your work is impressive," she said, forcing a smile. "Thank you, Veronica. I appreciate that," I replied, maintaining my composure. As the night went on, I realized how far I had come. I was no longer the woman defined by her marriage, but a strong individual crafting her own path. In the quiet moments after the event, I took a deep breath, feeling a sense of peace wash over me. I knew that my past would always be a part of me, but it did not control my future. I was free to create a life on my own terms. With determination in my heart, I reflected on what lay ahead. I was not just surviving anymore. I was thriving. And as I looked forward, I felt ready to embrace whatever came next. As I stood in front of the mirror, I could hardly recognize the woman looking back at me. Gone was the version of Clara who had clung to the shadows of her marriage. Now, there was a spark in my eyes, a hint of the freedom I had fought so hard to reclaim. Today was the day I would embrace this new beginning. I slipped into a bright yellow dress that hugged my figure just right. It felt like sunshine on my skin. I stepped outside, taking a deep breath of the crisp morning air. The world felt different somehow, alive with possibilities. I was determined to fill my days with joy and fulfillment. My phone buzzed, pulling me from my thoughts. It was Sarah, my old friend. "Hey Clara, are we still on for brunch?" she texted. "Absolutely. Can't wait to catch up," I replied, a smile forming on my lips. When I arrived at the cafe, I spotted Sarah at a table by the window, her face lighting up as she saw me. "Look at you! You're glowing!" she exclaimed, pulling me into a warm hug. "Thanks! I feel like a new person," I said, taking a seat across from her. "I've been exploring things that make me happy." "Like what?" she asked, her eyes full of curiosity. "I started painting again," I replied, excitement bubbling inside me. "It's something I loved before I got married. I even signed up for a local art class." "That's amazing! You should have done this sooner," Sarah encouraged, her enthusiasm infectious. "What else?" "I've been hiking too," I continued, recalling the tranquility of the trails. "There's something freeing about being out in nature, away from everything." Sarah nodded, her expression thoughtful. "It's great to see you embracing life again. Have you thought about dating?" I hesitated, the question hanging in the air. "I don't know. It feels strange to think about it. I want to focus on me for now." "That makes sense," she said gently. "Just remember, you deserve love and happiness." As we chatted about life and the future, I felt a strange mix of hope and excitement. Each laugh and shared story reminded me of the joy that had been missing for so long. I realized that I was no longer defined by my past, but was carving out my own path. Later that week, I decided to attend an art exhibition at a local gallery. I stood in front of a vibrant painting, letting the colors wash over me. It was then that I noticed someone watching me. A man with warm brown eyes approached, a friendly smile on his face. "That piece really speaks to you, doesn't it?" he asked, nodding toward the painting. "It does," I replied, feeling a flutter of nerves. "I love how it captures raw emotion. I'm Alex," he introduced himself, extending a hand. "Clara," I said, shaking his hand. His grip was firm and reassuring. "Are you an artist?" he asked, genuine interest in his voice. "I'm trying to be," I admitted, a hint of shyness creeping in. "I just started painting again after a long break." "That's fantastic. You should definitely keep at it," he encouraged. "Art has a way of healing." We talked for a while, sharing our thoughts on creativity and life. Alex was easy to talk to, and for the first time in a while, I felt a connection with someone. It was refreshing and exhilarating. As the evening progressed, I found myself smiling more, laughing easily. I was reminded that life could be beautiful again. The weight of my past began to lighten, replaced by the thrill of new experiences. After we exchanged numbers, I walked home with a spring in my step. Standing at my doorstep, I realized I was ready to embrace whatever came next. I had transformed heartbreak into a powerful rebirth. With each day, I found new strength within me. I was standing at the threshold of my new life, ready to live boldly and without regrets. As I closed my eyes, I whispered to myself, "This is just the beginning." Share this story if you believe that embracing new beginnings can lead to incredible transformations. Leave a comment about a moment when you found strength in unexpected places, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories like this one.